Good morning. I trust that all of us had a very thought-filled and love-filled Christmas. Very different, to be sure, but sometimes different can actually be quite enlightening. We are so pleased today to have Debbie Knapp joining us, and she's going to be playing some beautiful music for us during our burning bowl ritual. But I have to go back to last week. I forgot something that I thought was very important. I spoke last week about my involvement with the Council on Aging and how I felt that magic of our humanity every time I work with them. And I meant to tell a wonderful story. One of the ladies who attends one of the day programs, actually she attends both of them, her name is Helen. And this last June, Sylvan, who plays violin, and I were asked if we would play out in Oakmont at her home for an outdoor social distancing birthday party to celebrate Helen's 102nd birthday. So we did. We played for her 101st birthday, we played for her 102nd, and I'm looking forward to playing for her 103rd birthday this coming June. But it was a great day, it was warm. The city declared it Helen Day, and the fire truck came by with the siren going and the lights and waving, and the police came by and brought her a dozen red roses. And when we played our music, she got up in her walker and danced. And it was a great party. And when the party was over, I said, Helen, happy birthday. I said, can you tell me what's the best part of being 102? And Helen's an artist and she's ornery. And she got this little twinkle in her eye and she said, that's easy, no peer pressure. And I just wanted to share that with you. And maybe some of us, through this exasperating time we have gone through, have maybe let some of that peer pressure fall by the wayside. I think that's a healthy thing. Helen's sure it is. So here we are at the end of this very, very different 2020. Today we celebrate a ritual we call the Burning Bowl ritual. Some of you, I hope most of you, got packets in the mail. And in that packet, there was a little sheet of paper and a little bit bigger sheet of paper. The little sheet of paper, you write down everything you want to release from your life, and then we'll burn it up in the burning bowl. Or you can burn it up in your kitchen sink or out on your porch or maybe in a pot. And then on the larger sheet of paper, we write a letter to ourselves of the things we'd like to see manifested in our life through this coming year as we continue to work on transformation. And then we're also a couple of envelopes. A small envelope, you address it to yourself, write the letter you wrote to yourself, put it in the envelope and seal it. Nobody's going to read it except you. Then you put that envelope into the bigger one that's addressed to Church of the Oaks, Box 265, Cotati, 94931, and send it to us. And then we'll take your letter in June, put a stamp on it, and send it back to you. And if you didn't get a packet, that's fine. Find a little piece of paper, burn up what you want to release. Find another piece of paper, write your letter to yourself, put it in a smaller envelope, address it to yourself, you don't have to stamp it, and then mail it to Church of the Oaks. And we will, if we don't forget, we will mail it back to you. One year I was getting ready to prepare for the Burning Bowl service, and I keep all the stuff, all the paraphernalia, the burning bowl and the candle and all the things, and there were the stack of letters to be mailed back in June. So on December 23rd, I mailed them. It was kind of humorous, actually. Okay, I want to talk to you a little bit about burning up and releasing. I've given this a lot of thought this week, actually for several weeks. I think all of us have a lot to burn up, a lot to release. You know, we have this pandemic that has caused us fear and anxiety. We are ending up a 4-year administration that has, I guess the greatest contribution you can say this administration has done is it's spread another pandemic within our society, and that's a pandemic of hatred and fear and bigotry and misogyny and racism. And how are we going to go forward from here? We won't do a very good job if we confront this disease of hatred and fear with animosity or challenge. I think instead we have to confront this as it truly is. It is a disease. And like any disease, the only way to address it is with empathy and acceptance and caring. Hopefully we can come in contact with people who are so filled with this hatred and anger and fear, and we can meet them with light and acceptance and empathy, rather than confrontation and conflict. I think that's the only course of action. And when we speak of these things called fear and hatred and anxiety and bigotry and misogyny, all these things, all of us have some of that. All of us. And this administration, this time we're in right now, it's nothing new. It's been going on forever. I'll take a moment and go back through maybe the last 80 years. Our government back in the 40s told us we must hate the Japanese and be afraid of them. We must hate the Germans and the Nazis and be afraid of them. We must hate and be afraid of the fascist Italians. And the Jews, you know, now they were hated so bad and run out and killed, but why were they hated? Man, we better keep an eye on them. And then in the 50s, it was hate. You got to hate the Koreans and the communists and the Chinese and the Soviets because they're evil. They're communists and socialists. Hate them and be very afraid. In our own country, when the people in the 60s and the 70s demonstrated and spoke their mind about wanting the war to come to an end. Well, what do you mean? That's un-American. Americans always fought and done war and battle. And race. I remember when I was a young man, nobody hated those Negroes, but they just had to learn to stay in their place. And that's what our government has told us for literally centuries. But when we look around this earth today, we see some wonderful things happening. We see a whole new consciousness springing up. We see a new light of acceptance and love and compassion. All you have to do is look for it, and it's everywhere. And next week I'm going to approach that with more depth. But I think all of us, due to the conditioning, due to the history of living in this country, all of us have things we need to release. And that means, yeah, we've even got to lighten up on the vegans, folks. We've just We've given them a pretty rough go. But seriously, how much anger do we have? How much hatred do we have that we don't let anybody see, but we feel it? That is all disease. And we have within us the power to release that, to burn it up today, let it go. So I'm going to ask that Debbie and her friend, Mr. Beethoven, anoint us with a consciousness that will allow us to consider what little diseases do we have that we have the power to let go, release, and burn up today to allow us to elevate our consciousness, to expand our awareness, and to significantly change our own lives and the consciousness of the world around us. Debbie. Debbie, thank you very much. I hope all of us were able to be honest, be objective as we released these things that no longer serve us well and let them go. Now it's time to begin thinking about what we'd like to see manifested in our lives, maybe take the place of what we just released. And Debbie's going to play again, but I'm not going to encourage you to write your letter to yourself quickly. I'm going to encourage you to maybe take a day or two or three and consider. Think very carefully. You know, you don't have to look very far to see someone who needs a smile, or someone who needs a little acceptance, or a little empathy, compassion. Someone who could use a little light in their life instead of discrimination or argument or confrontation. You know, we've got 7 billion people in this world, and each one of them has a myriad of opinions and beliefs and habits. How do we determine what's right and what's wrong? I'm not smart enough, or I don't have the right to make that determination. But I do have the privilege and the opportunity to show them empathy and compassion and acceptance and understanding and kindness. So with these things in mind, I encourage all of us to think about what we want to see build and grow in our lives, what seeds we like to plant and see them come to fruition in our lives. You know, this last year, I proclaimed it a year of transformation. And I could not have dreamed that we'd have the challenges that we have had. And I'm not sure how much transformation any of us has been able to accomplish, because we've been very challenged just to survive, just to adapt to all the things that had to change in our lives just to continue to eat. And for some, that's still a huge challenge. And some people aren't winning that battle. Some people aren't doing so well, and a lot of people need a lot of help from all of us. So let's take our time and let's give it some real thought, real contemplation, and let's truly ponder what we have the ability and the desire to accomplish, to do. What is our purpose? Good question to ponder as we write down what we'd like to see manifested in our lives and in the lives of those around us. So I'm going to wish each of us a new year filled with joy and satisfaction and a coming into our own purpose, a transformation of where our true higher selves has a chance to expand and touch and change this wonderful earth on which we call home. Debbie, please. I'd like to end this year of 2020 with a consciousness of gratitude. Debbie, thank you very much for being here today. And I'd like to thank all of you for continuing to participate, for continuing to financially support Church of the Oaks, for your support and your encouragement as I watch the ever-expanding number of hits we have on our YouTube and Facebook pages as you watch these messages this entire year. We've grown from 35 to over 200 people every week. And I'm so thankful that maybe as many as 200 people are actually giving thought as to what they can do to expand and elevate their consciousness and awareness. So as we end this year, I am so thankful that if we are listening to this, we have survived. And that we still have the capacity within us to love and care for each other. And to show our light and our love and our compassion. I'm so thankful. And I trust you are as well. And so it is.